Okay, it's 5:37. I just didn't open the curtains all the way. See how that goes. His that sun is gonna come beating through there at some point, and it's vicious, man. Even when I go out and walk, because after I finish, and Stella wants to go and walk at that, the sun thing is so fucking intense, and they keep doing. Yesterday was really crazy too, because I went out yesterday morning. It was so blue. I was just completely blue sky, all for as far as I could see. And this giant silver disc up in the sky, lighting up with this intense heat coming out of it. And so then later, yesterday was another day where I was exhausted. And there's something weird going on with Stella, I'll tell you. It's weird. I just gotta keep thinking it's gotta be the energy on the planet. It's gotta be. She's acting so fucking weird. Just like yesterday, just kept going and trying to get away from me, which is really weird. And she kept going somewhere else. If I went and sat down next to her, because she kept being outside, and if I go sit down next to her, she'd get up and walk and go somewhere else. And it's weird. I kept saying, did I hurt your feelings? Did I say something mean or something? What is going on with you? And it was like she wasn't computing what I was saying some of the times and stuff. It was weird. I don't even know. And I tried to get her to go, but I came in for, let's see, I don't know. Every day is so chopped up, I swear to God. But I was outside for a while, which outside I've got myself in some sort of portal or something. My shit is going missing. Like, how does it just go missing sitting right next to you and it just disappears? It's like, what in the holy hell? Give me my shit back. And so I've still been out there every day, looking under the little couch, looking under the tables, looking everywhere for my shit. It's like it just completely disappeared right off my lap. And then this weird energy thing. And I felt so drained. And I came in and I laid down and I fell asleep, I think, on the couch. And then I'll wake up and I'll be like confused over where I am, who am I with? What am I doing here? It's really strange. And then realize, oh yeah, Stella, where's Stella? And to the point where I'm even like, is she in here? Like looking through the house. And then go outside and I'm looking and it's like she's hiding or something. And then that whole thing started with weird. And so I was trying to get her to go for a walk. And then when we went out, it was the sky, whatever they did again. So before I went in, yeah, because I was sitting outside and I was looking up and I did some videos because it was no longer blue sky. They had the little white swirl things out there. They had put all this white out there and it was moving with the frequency and creating these strange patterns up in the sky. And they've been doing that for a couple days. So it was right above me. Well, it's never right above me. It's like over there. It's so weird. And I just think, like yesterday I said something about, because it just is weird. For your whole life to be told that the sun rises in the east, it goes over the top of us, and then goes into the west, and then go in and move somewhere and see. It doesn't do that at all. It's like, what are they fucking talking about? It comes up over here, it goes around this way, and then it comes back over here where it was, and it goes back down. It's like, this is so strange. So, and I would, I would guess it's going down in the west and it's coming up in the east, but it isn't going over the top. It's swinging out around, which is just strange. But I think people just don't realize it because they don't have any reference. Like I've got these tall trees and the sun can't get over it. And so, while I was sitting out there, and I'm looking at that and, and the sun is already, it's only the middle of July. It just crossed my mind what the date. Oh, which, by the way, today in the Julian calendar, I guess, is the actual July 4th, which a lot of people are saying this is our real Independence Day. This is the day. It's 5:42, and I was on TikTok. And so the East Coast should be opening here in like 15 or 20 minutes. But still, that's not the banks. The banks won't open for a couple more hours, right? The banks, I think, would be, maybe, would it be 9 o'clock? Maybe it is already, would be, I don't. Because if it's 6 here, then the East Coast should be 9 o'clock. So maybe the banks would be opening at 9. So maybe we would know that stuff is going down. But anyways, I saw so many videos that was saying this week, I guess Trump even put out some kind of thing on Truth Social. And it was some about boom, boom, boom. And so all the people are going to, all they're looking up and stuff like that. There's a bunch of posts and it said boom, boom, boom. And it said that this is the week. So I don't know. There's just been so many. I'm not going to get disappointed because it just is. Sometimes it's a setup, you know. You just get your hopes up like, oh, this is it. And then it's like, oh, fuck, another disappointment. And some of that, you know, you got to just keep getting over and over. You can't let it get you down because we're definitely headed there. It's just a fucking rocky road. So, but when I was sitting out there and I started looking up at all, because they had so many swirls and so much right where the sun is. And then it was right, you know, in my view. And the shadow was fucking huge. And I did some videos because it was so fucking weird. So I had the sun, and the sun was like in the tree line. So you could kind of look up and see because it had a filter over it. So the behind it was the what people call the sundog or whatever. It is this giant gray obstacle behind it that also has a color border like a rainbow, which, you know, without all of the distraction that they spray and shit, you know, who knows what it would look like without it. Because the day before, when I saw this sharp edge thing and it looked like this giant silver, it looked, the shape even looked like, it was so strange. Because yesterday, so when I was walking, it looked like a spaceship that was kind of tipped on its side, and the sun was over here, and then there was like sharp edges, like, okay, what in the hell? Because why would that make the sky look that way? This is obviously not part of the sky. And so that way it looked like a spaceship, what you would think of more like on its side. When it's over like this, it looks like one that you're looking like up. And so it's way bigger, but there I could see it like it was different, where I was like, oh my God, that totally looks like a mothership. And so then yesterday, so when I was looking at it, and it was the giant shadow that goes way out, the shadow goes way bigger. And it had like the sundog color thing, whatever you want to call that thing. But that had a big bite in it by this blue, blue, blue sky. And it was so weird. And it was hard to see like through the trees because you could see the layers didn't make sense. How was a blue sky on top of that and cutting into it? And so then it was like, that is, you can totally see these different skies. Like they are trying to put a sky in front of the sky so we can't see what's in the sky. And so when you just pay attention and you see, like I started noticing that, like I've been talking about this since like 2020, I swear to God. It was like one of the first things I was even talking about with this shit was I was talking about the weird ass sun, this fake. I knew that was fake sun. And the weird ass sky where I kept saying there is levels. There's not like one sky anymore. There's levels of sky, and sometimes it breaks through and you see it. But now realizing how close this thing is and what they're trying to cover, and it's just strange. I mean, the thing is getting so big and so close. Like there was no covering it. I mean, for the people who are just not paying any attention to the sky, but there's more and more of us who are, and the more and more of us who are, it draws the attention, So it's that 100th monkey. You can't get away from it. So it is this energetic connection that we all have. So, I'm not arguing with anybody. I've had tons of people, like my kids, I'll say shit about the sky. And the sky looks normal. You're just so weird. Why do you think the sky's weird? It's not weird. It looks normal. Doesn't look normal. Do you look at the sky? But I'm not arguing with people. They're going to see what they're going to see. I feel like, oh yeah, because yesterday I was talking about, or maybe it was the day before, and I was talking about like the frequency. And so when you think about this rapture situation and all these people leaving, but are they really leaving, or is it just a change in frequency? And so yesterday, I think I was looking for something to watch a couple of times. It's just a weird day. I swear to God, every day is so weird. It's so chopped up. But so I think I was looking at, but a movie came across, and I had talked about this movie a while back because I had watched it. But anyways, when it came across, it gave me a different reference. And it is I Still See You. And if you've seen it or you remember me talking about it or whatever, it's like this rapture happens, only all of these other people, they are there, but like as a shadow. They're there, and they continue to play out like their last day, but they're not, you can't interact with them or anything, just like a ghost. And so when I saw that, it just is like, it's like that is merging of information. It's like a seed is planted, you're talking about something, and all of a sudden you just see it, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So if it's a change in frequency, and those people are still at this lower frequency, and the change happens, and the people are still there, and the change in the frequency is how you are able to see them. So it is like that they don't really go anywhere. Gosh, this burping thing. I'm so nauseous too this morning. And I was like, and I took a charcoal yesterday. I've seen people say, like, you got to really watch out with these parasite cleanses. And I probably am not doing it right or something. Or it's just the chemicals are just fucking my stomach so much. And this weird atmosphere over here. And this weird pole shift thing. It's like there's so many things happening. So anyways, what was I going to say? So it's kind of like that the souls are there still playing this stuff out, but it is like a frequency thing. Like you'd have to be in a lower frequency to interact with them. And do they even have the ability to interact? Or are they so focused on what they're doing that they only can see that, like a ghost? Like a ghost is just focused on what like their last day or what it was they were doing or something, where people are like, I think these ghosts are trapped or whatever. It's like a state of consciousness that is trapped, an energy source that is trapped in like a replaying or something. But anyways, I just was thinking of that, whatever I was talking about the other day about it being like the dialing the frequency, and the higher your frequency, like you could see them, but they can't see you. So your frequency is like, it gives you more power. It gives you more abilities. The higher your frequency, the more that you can see, the more you can take in, the more you can absorb, because you have, it's like you can go further, you're not trapped. I think probably most of the souls that are here are, you know, able to go in the same highest frequency. Like, I think people think, because I hear them, like, it's weird. Like, these people, oh, well, I'm the chosen, and these people who just don't wake up, they won't wake up, like all this stuff. It's like, you don't seem to understand about the awakening or something. You're so sure you're so perfect and egotistical and really arrogant about shit. So it's like you're not seeing the soul thing going on here because you're so stuck up your own ass. So there's so much of that with these people. And, you know, I don't, look, who knows how this is going to play out with them. You know, when the other people wake up, it's going to be a humbling experience, I would imagine, because they're going to see like how judgmental and arrogant and hypercritical they were of other people. And so, I don't know. I say, you know, to always be trying to look at everybody equally and fairly and stuff. Don't be looking at people like you're better than them and they're worse than you. Even if those things creep into your mind, then is you to, you know, to rationalize your thought process and to see through, you know, notice your own arrogance and your own ego when it is peeking through and trying to tell you that you're better than somebody else. Because in the fact that people think because people aren't awake is like, that is a part of the thing. Like, I mean, when you just think of your own awakening and how it all went and how you woke up and stuff like that, when like you had to have somebody sit there and tell you, it's like your soul just all of a sudden, you know, you just hear it complaining about something or pointing something out, or you just all of a sudden have a realization, and it just is, it's, you know, the awakening. And then it just is a layer upon layer, you know, of more things to awaken to. I saw, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are speaking out about religion. I saw this one guy who was being really outspoken. He was speaking, he was on a stage. I don't know who he was, but, you know, I mean, he's saying the same thing as like the rest of us. Is like, you know, right from the beginning, you traumatize kids, telling them they're going to go to hell, the devil's in them, the devil's going to get them, and all that stuff. And then you tell them that they're a failure all the time because they didn't do this right, they didn't do that right. And then we wonder why we got all these kids that are on drugs and suicidal. And it's like, we're not teaching them right. As I've been saying the whole time, things are going to change how we approach parenting, about teaching children who and what they are, to teach children who are still connected to their soul, who have this, you know, has the magic inside of them. And then you start telling them that they're, you know, they're crazy, don't listen, the devil's trying to get them and all that stuff. You just create so much confusion. And then you take the role of being the one who seems to know what they're talking about, and which is more confusing to the person because they got to go against their own inner guidance. And that is what we got to promote as people are growing up. You know, a child who wants to do something, you know, have them sit and explain to you, like, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? What do you want to happen with that? Like, have them explore. You know, have them grow their understanding and grow their responsibility. Not blame, like, you know, if you do this, the devil's going to get you. If you do that, like all of that. And it's so programmed into people. I mean, my mom's nearly 80, and she 100% believes that. Like, any of this stuff, like, you start saying, well, that's from the devil. You know, the devil's the one talking to you in your head. So, you know, I feel like, you know, we need to change things of how we raise kids. Like, it's a big, important thing. And it's going to help people with their self-esteem to feel better about themselves when they, you're told, like, yeah, that's real. Your connection to yourself, the voices in your head, all that stuff is real. And you have to learn about that. You have to learn about, controlling the voices in your head, knowing which ones to listen to, which ones are there for you and which ones aren't. And then getting this idea that, demons are getting you and stuff. The dark energy is mindless. It doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't think that far in advance. It is just trying to, it is what I'm telling you, it's like the earthworms of life or something. It is an energy that is just trying to stay alive and figure out what it is. There's a big difference in conscious energy. Like, even though we're conscious energy, look at how much conscious energy struggles to realize its own potential, its own self, especially when it's been so indoctrinated. So it has so much, even though your potential and stuff is written, it's inside of you, it's your imprint, but you're still going against your mind, your programming. So it is, all of this stuff is difficult for people to comprehend because it's so opposite of what they were taught, what life was about and stuff. And I just always knew what I was about, and I don't know why they couldn't trick me, why I didn't get so deep into the program, why they couldn't do that. Even, having a mom who was like very, like, if you think about it, it is a very cult kind of mentality. It's very much like how you have to look at things. Like, look at it the way I look at it. See it the way I see it. Look through my eyes to see what I see. And, even having a mom who was very much about religion and God and the devil and black and white, very black and white, good or bad. Just like, our daily lecture on the rotten pieces of shit that ever lie. That was a big one to me, I swear to God. Because as a kid, it would be like, it seems like there was one time, like, because back then, we had the encyclopedias and National Geographics and stuff. There was some book or something that we had in the basement. I think me and my other two siblings, I think the other one was too little. I think he was still a baby or wasn't born yet or something. But we had, and there might have been some other kids, I don't remember. But we had a book down there and probably found some page of a naked body or something. We're all laughing and saying stuff. And this is the kind of stuff you get in trouble for. Like, really think about it, how absurd that is. Kids finding a naked picture or a dirty word, or, could have just said like butt, and kids can sit and laugh about that for 10 minutes. And so whatever it was very snickery and sneakery to my mom, where it was like, ugh. And, I don't know if it was her that got that into my head, but it really is when you are somewhere and you hear kids snickering and hiding and stuff, you just automatically are like, they're fucking around. Something's going on over there. Like, gotta go see what they're doing. My mom, I was like, she was the ghost of the house. She would never know where she was. But then all of a sudden, it's like, well, what are you doing? Get in your rooms before your dad gets here. You will talk to your dad about this. And, always, what are you doing? And anything you would say, liars are the worst people in the whole world. It's so crazy how do any of us grow up and ever feel good about ourselves? Like, our parents had no clue what they were doing. It's not like the next generation or this one or any of them have had a clue, but we got to get, like, start getting on board so that we can do better because we've done a lot of failing, a lot of big old F's. But it is, I mean, that was part of the experiment. It's part of seeing. It's part of like, I think part of the experiment is, being able to hear yourself through all the noise, to realize that you are eternal being. I think that's part of it. I know a big part of it is the unity consciousness, is us all coming together. And who was that? It was somebody, because not everybody will wake up. Not everybody will come together. But it isn't like they're doing something wrong. It isn't like they were going to and then they messed up. It is set the way it's set. You're always going to do what you're going to do. You're in a replay. If you're watching a replay, the replay can't change the outcome. The replay can't change anything. It's like the slowed down version. It's like your spirit. It's so crazy because it's so much like a dream or something. Like the writing of the storyline. It is like, this is how I see it. It's like we're spirits, but we're not just like smoke trying to figure out, like, we are consciousness. And so we have abilities, but, we have to know our abilities. Otherwise, we're restricted because we don't understand them. So in the ethers or whatever, like in communication or something, how I always hear it is like voices, like this, like when you're in your energy, you can be just like a voice or something and communicate with one another. And I don't know if it is just something of like us able to just envision, and it creates the whole storyline. Because it isn't like, I really do not think it's at all like in this 3D idea of like, oh, well, I really have this lesson I'd like to learn. I'm going to gather my friends, we're going to go sit down at a table, and we're going to come up with all the storylines that we can all play out our parts. Like, that's so complicated. Like, that would take so long. And so I think it is way more of this natural occurrence. It is like, it's like we can know something and it's automatically. Like, you can know what you need to work on, and it automatically, the story is written. Like the stories are always written. Just like we don't have to, when we go to sleep, we don't have to tell ourselves what we're going to dream about. It just automatically happens, and it automatically is giving us a story that we can learn from, or, whatever our communication is through our dreams. And so it's kind of like that. But then once you come into this, like once you're in the game, it's already written. It's a replay. There is nothing that is happening for the first time. So that is, to me, how about fate and destiny. It's written. There's nothing you can do. As destined events. Everything is fated. It's going to be the way it's going to be. And there's a reason, though. And it isn't a punishment. It is a growth opportunity. So it's just a different way for us to acknowledge what is happening to us so that we can use it productively rather than dismiss it. Like I've always thought, I mean, this was something that stood out to me so much with my dad when I was younger. And just his drinking and drinking and drinking all the time, and just, sitting and listening to him, and his dissatisfaction with himself, and how he always wanted to change. He always wanted to make some kind of change, but he could never do it. The next day, he still got up and he still drank the vodka for breakfast. And And I always just thought it was sad. I just always was like, man, what a sad thing to go through life and not grow and not change, to not find your own abilities, to not see your own ability, your own, as I think that is a big part of life, is the going through the obstacles. It shows you what you're made of. It shows you who you are at your core, and it is no shame to anybody who's weak or weak-minded or falls apart easily. That isn't to be shamed. That isn't to be like, you're not as good. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. No, that's not what it's about. It's about for your witnessing. It's you who get to witness yourself. It's you who get to decide, and in most cases, you're not going to look at it as like you were weak. You're going to look at it as like, you had to do what you had to do. And because that is what the learning of not being judgmental is about. It's you witnessing yourself and seeing like, well, I had to do what I had to do. It wasn't like I really had choices, and that is why it is so valid for people to come in and play these parts, bad parts, good part, whatever part, is because of it's real easy to think like how many times, like you just go over how many conversations you've had with people. Oh, well, I would have done this. Well, I would have done that. Well, they shouldn't have done this. They should have done that. Well, if I was in that position, I would have done this. You don't know what you would have done because you weren't in that position. You don't know what led up to that. You don't know what that person was feeling. We can't shame them. Can't tell somebody, you did the wrong thing. But that is what a big part of incarnating seems to have the part to play, is because then you see what you would really do. And then that is what relieves us from judgment, because we see when we're in a situation, it changes how we play it out. You don't just play it out the way you think you would. There, you have things that bind you, that tie you, that hold you, and you have certain ways of looking at it. So those are the opportunities you get when you incarnate, is to get that full view. And when you get that full view, it should, as a spirit, begin to relieve you from judging others, from thinking others should do things the way that is the right way, because there is no right way. There's the way that you do it at the time, and then the lessons you learn from what you do. And it is a purpose, and consequences are a big part of learning. And I also think that is a part of parenting and the development of the soul, because that's what you got to be thinking about. You have a soul. You have a whole little reality that you've birthed into this world. And so it is to promote its growth, not to restrict it and beat it down from day one. But a part of that is to get the being to understand its own consequences. And you can start out so small with kids of, you do this and then let them see what happens. Sometimes they got to see, and it can be super dangerous, but not letting them learn the lessons is also super dangerous. Like, it's probably a good idea, like for the one grandson right now, he's up and at 'em all the time. He's holding on to furniture, but he is right on the thing where he can take one step, to get there. So he's right on that verge of taking off. But all he does is look around and see everything he wants to get into, and he can crawl fast. He's like goes fast as he can, and so that daughter's already child-proofed her house, but he's still, still getting into things. But it's probably a good idea to have like things that they can pull down on themselves that they won't hurt themselves, like something soft or something loud or something that, so they learn pulling things off from above their head and not seeing can be dangerous, without it having to really hurt them, without them really, seeing a cord and then running over and pulling it down and pulling something heavy on their head. Instead, let them see, like a consequence like that. Like, oh, if you pull that, that's going to pull this little pillow down on your head, and that's going to be scary. So, but you got to think about, you don't want to hurt your child, but you want them to learn to not just grab things and pull them down on themselves. And so there's it's like different approaches, not just screaming at your child, like how people just scream at their dogs. People are so impatient. They're impatient with their dogs, they're impatient with their kids, and being impatient comes from inside. That is, and I'm always working on that challenge because, we all have impatience. It's fucking burping, and it's like fucking tastes like a chemical or something. Ugh. Oh, and also I saw yesterday cloves, which I put cloves in my tea every day because I do. I have a chai. I made up my own little concoction of roots and shit like that in my tea. But then I also have a spice one that I created, a concoction of chai spices. And I knew that there's a purpose. When you have those things like from India and they add these spices to their tea, bet your ass it's something that is good for you. It isn't just because, oh, well, we just wanted some flavor. They were big on spices, but there's a purpose to the spices. And so cloves as, it's really good for your hair, which I'd already seen about that. And I put it, because if you boil rosemary and cloves together and then you get that water stuff, that is part of the water that I spray on my hair. And also add in a bunch of essential oils. And if anybody else has a good idea about the hair wash, I'm really, the vinegar is just not, my hair is not appreciated, the vinegar. Like I'm, maybe once a year or something, but it does something weird to the texture or something. I don't know. I got to find something where it's like I could wash it without stripping it. I don't want to strip all of the natural stuff off of it because I can't even believe how much my hair has gotten more body and stuff by not washing it and not stripping it. So I don't want to go back to that, like, how my hair was. But anyways, I think probably the vinegar thing, maybe I did it too much. Like, I don't know how, like that one girl who I saw, she'd washed her hair 27 days. But, maybe it wasn't real sweaty. I don't know. It's kind of hard to not want to wash your hair when you get all sweaty. So, but I don't want to strip it. So anybody has any ideas, just tell me in the comments what you're using on your hair. And then, we got to just really acknowledge that we all have different textures of hair and everything. So, but this thing I saw yesterday, it was about drinking cloves, about adding cloves into something, which about drinking it every morning, which I do. Oh, no, it was 2 actual cloves. If you eat 2 actual cloves a day, which I grind, mine is grinded and in my stuff, that you have all these improvements. And I was telling, but a lot of it had to do with your hair's health and stuff like that. So, but it's the same thing with the cinnamon, and the cinnamon is also in the chai spices. Ginger, I've even put in turmeric. That is really good for inflammation. Like, there's all these different things, and honey. It's like, to me, like that first cup of tea with all of those things, with the honey and the spices and all those things, is really like starting the morning with something good for you, like to get your body going. I don't know. I'm just talking a lot of shit, aren't I? I don't fucking know. How do I fucking know anything? I don't fucking know. Like, I go with what I know inside of me. And, and that's crazy to a lot of people. But I don't know. To me, it's just been my life for, the whole time, where there's been people talking to me, even in any situation, like with my dad and stuff back then. They were talking to me. It's also so strange, too, how my mom, she did her prayer thing or whatever that day a few months ago. I don't know, could have fucking been a year ago by now. when she's like asking the angels, oh, why did you let this happen, Kelly? Because I think that my mom carries so much guilt. I think that's why she's waiting for Jesus to save her. I think so many people who age, who aren't taught to heal and let go of things, I think they carry so much guilt and so much shame, because you can't get away from your soul. Your soul is going to point out the things, and people don't want to hear them or see them. They just have a weird backward way of looking at things. And then they want Jesus to come in and just say, it's all okay. It's all okay. You're okay. It's like, but you got to learn how to do that for yourself. You got to learn how to forgive yourself. And when you're all stuck in ego, expecting yourself to be perfect, then how do you forgive yourself for being ignorant and being stupid and being weak, But it is important, because if you can't forgive yourself, then how's anybody supposed to? When you go around, when you don't forgive yourself, is a hot pocket. It's like a quick to the trigger, easily angered. My mom has the blood pressure problem. I'm sure if she dealt with her guilt and her shame from, and what is also for, sad too for older people, guilt and shame has to do with them being a sexual being, It's crazy, because you could, as a uptight woman, because a lot of the women were raised to be very uptight. Like back then, if you were giving it away, you were a slut, you were a whore. And then you think about, like, if you got pregnant when you were a teenager and, had people looking down on you. She was telling me a story about when she went in to have her second child, and she's like 17. Let's see, she turned 17 a couple days after she had me. This week is our graduate, or our, I don't want to even acknowledge those days. But so she had her birthday right after mine. And so she went up, but then, okay, so my brother's like a year and a half. So I don't know, maybe she was 18 then. So she went through 17. Yeah, so 18. So she must have got pregnant right away, like within 9 months or something. And then, but anyway, so she was still a kid, and she went in to see this other doctor. And she said she was treated so bad. Like she was just this, slutty little girl. And, the older doctor back then. So like slut shaming a young teenage girl, not even considering her insecurity or, the man's. It's always, back then, the church, these women, taunting men with their sexuality. It's like so backward. So, but, you carry that pain for all this time, and nobody's teaching you to release it and let go. So you carry it as shame and guilt. And back then, so many women were, ashamed to acknowledge their own sexuality, to like touch their own body. That's like gross. Why would you do that, you pervert? Like a vibrator? What? That is creepy, fetish, to some people. And that is sad, because it's the same thing as like, God put marijuana on the planet. And I saw a thing yesterday after I was talking about, these things that are here for us, but people get all in this judgy kind of way. But I saw this thing, and it's something about the cannabinoids. Like, I know Judy Mikovits talks a lot about this, but this wasn't her. I don't know who this doctor was or whatever, but she's got books and stuff about it. And like she goes out and speaks about it, but this was talking about like there's cannabinoid circuitry inside of us, but as look with the other minerals and elements, is that what they're called, and enzymes, along with the rest of those were shorted, like they've mastered that in our diet to short things that we really need. And cannabinoids is something that apparently, and so when you smoke, it brings you to like homeostasis. And that is why so many people do want to all the time, because it makes them level, it makes them feel normal. And that is, to me, yeah, when people are like, oh, that's being high, like, that's not how I would say it. I would say it's kind of like it shuts out the noise. Like I can hear much better. I'm like tuned in much better to the spiritual side of things. Like, I don't know. I think so much of what they tried to do was to demonize something, like calling the devil's lettuce and stuff like that. It is, I mean, this is God-given plant. And then people get all in their judgment and shame and, decide what God means by this or means by that. Well, the plant's there, and there's things inside of us that, need that plant. And, I'm not saying go out, everything's about balance. I'm not saying go out and abuse the plant, because you also, there is, learning to feel good. Like, there's more to just like finding something that just makes you feel good all the time so you can run and hide from the rest of the world. But there's an acknowledgement as well as like, oh, well, there's something inside of us that needs these kind of things, these cannabinoids or something. I don't know. You can look up about it for yourself. You can decide for yourself. I'm not telling anybody, you better start smoking the weed just because I do. I don't give a fuck. Do it or don't do it. I just feel like, like how I was very demonize it, and so I had to come into a resolve. I had to acknowledge and start seeing it. And it's like, why do we do that over a plant? How do they come up with a plant and say it's illegal? Like, there's shit going down, man. That is some bullshit. And when it has so much to do with money and, like, yeah, they want to push alcohol. Alcohol kills so many people. And they want to push paper, as hemp is cheap. So they had to, they had to destroy it. And it has to do with J.P. Morgan, of course. That guy, you think that guy must be 1,000 fucking years old for all the fucking hell he's created. He's got some bad karma, that. That guy has been out to, to take from the people. Like, he wants to absorb our energy, figure out a way that he can take from us. So, and that's why he did. To me, it doesn't seem like a good place you want to be when you cross over. Like, you got some shit to put back in balance. Like, to me, that sounds like a lot of really shitty lives to have to put so much back into balance. To me, it almost seems like, for some of those souls where they say, they go and do all this rotten shit, and then they can go back into this, like, I don't know, like an energy pit and come out clean or something. Like, but they don't come out themselves. It's like a blending of other, I don't know. There's certain things like, I don't know. I know that you have to balance things. I know things have to be in balance. And whatever you put out of balance, you have to rebalance. And I know that, about conscious energy. And I know about unconscious energy, free energy. And then the dark energy. And like the point is expansion, evolution, growth, all of the different lifetimes. This one to me is just super significant because this is an evolution of real significance. It's not just you going through a hard life and then going to the other side and reviewing it and that kind of expansion. This is an expansion that we are, we're in the creation of it. We're in charge of it. Like, you are in charge right now of your own expansion. Like, you can stop everything. You can sit every day and just watch the news and watch shit play out, not grow at all. And then, then you get to go and see that side of yourself when you go to your review. You get to see, like, and understand that side of yourself. It's not like you're doing anything wrong. It's all about this opportunity to understand yourself, to see yourself, as a light being, as a soul, as an energy source, as trying to understand yourself. And I think that is a part of why, we are judgy towards one another, is that we're trying to understand ourselves. So I don't even think like that is like wrong or something. It's just something that we need to grow past, because it is a lower vibration. Oh yeah, this was really cool. So there was some guy, and he had a petri dish, and he had it sitting on top of the speaker. But what was in the dish was something. And he had it sit on the speaker, and then he was doing something with the frequency. And so it made all the patterns, just like how we see, when you watch them do it with the water or any of that stuff. The frequency creates the patterns. And so it looks like all these like snowflakes or Mandelas or whatever. So then what was really super fucking cool is, so it created these images. And this had 3 images. So when it took the image, and so he took one of them and laid it, and then he took the other one, laid it on top, and then he took the other one, laid it on top. The 3 images together created a picture like of a Gerber baby. This perfect fucking Gerber baby face, with just these 3 strange Mandela things laid over the top. And the first one, when he laid the first 2 together, it looked kind of like a baby's face, but, more abstract a little. But then the third one, it was crazy. And that right there is the creation of us. That is the frequency, the color, the light. That is where we come up with this thing that we think is us. It is just, it's the matter. It is the frequency, and the low frequency is what gives what we consider form, but it is a low, slow vibration that creates the images. And it is these colors and stuff that layer to create this image of what we think of as us. But it's really just the hologram image that is created from the frequency. So, but that is a lot to wrap your head around, But there is a lot more people who are coming to the realization, like, we're in a simulation, we're in a game. This isn't what we were told. Like, this is real life. This is not real life. This is a game that you play. Real life is nothing of this. Real life is nothing of, this is a part of life, because this is a part of incarnating to experience yourself. But it isn't, being alive isn't, that's just life. It isn't the whole thing. The whole thing is because that's the energy that creates us in this, this low vibration. Like, I swear to God, I don't think there's lower. And the lower vibration, there's more dark energy. And then the dark energy, is, I think that is what feeds people's minds to keep them from finding themselves. It's the dark energy attachments that we get from the time we're small. And I mean, you probably carry some with you. They're probably, as soon as you're birthed into this place, you've probably got some waiting, some waiting for you. They find you from the magnetic force because you were with them in other lives. Like, energy can recognize energy. Like, it's not like we need our eyes to see somebody. It is different. So, but outside of this, in that world, that is the real world. That is like I've said before, what you think of as being dead is your real life. That is where you know the people. Like, in this life, my conversation with my dad would be very different than outside of this life, in our real world, my conversations. The people who you have been harmed by in this life isn't the same when you go into the other one. But see, if you're real caught up in your judgment stuff, and that to me is where you get held back, in that like purgatory realm, like where when my dad had passed and that medium went and talked to him, and he was not in, regular society or something. He was being held in this dark place. And it was, it's like a timeout. And I've heard this stuff before. And I think in QHHTs and Dolores Cannon and stuff, like all this stuff is for you to put together your storyline that you understand, that makes sense to you. Like, you don't have to just go, well, that makes no sense to me, but she said it, so I better believe it. No, that's not what I'm trying to convince you to do. I'm trying to convince you to, come up with your own storyline. What makes sense to you? I can tell you what makes sense to me, but if it doesn't make sense to you, you don't have to force it. You just, need to keep continuing to build your story so you can understand, because you're going to understand it on your level. And there's not to say anybody's level is beyond anybody else's level, but we all have our understanding. And when you think about like our aura, or our if it's an organ, or the 13 original spirits, the philosophies, the approaches, like we come from those different ones. So how I understand things can be different than how somebody else understands things. I think, though, as this is all going on, like I had said about the marbles and the frequency, and how this frequency was changing, and it was pushing us out towards our tribes and towards our like-minded people. Because, I think most of you guys, if you listen to me, it's because you are in alignment, because you do see things the same, because we are of the same, color, the same organ, the same aura, whatever. There's something that matches about us. So we can understand when one of us is talking, we can understand what they're saying. It's not like when you're talking to people who you don't jive with, you're just like, what do they mean? And to me is right away, it's just like, we're not in tune. We're not on the same wavelength. It's not like anything's wrong. It's not like I have to change me or you have to change you. We're just on different wavelengths, which is completely fine. The matter of fact, the more wavelengths we have, and the more that we can come together and accept one another for our own truth, then that is the unity consciousness, that is the graduation of the experience. It's the positive outcome, this science experiment thing that we're going through about us coming together. I think it is the more that we can accept one another's differences, the better that is. We don't need to get everybody to change and to be our acceptable view of things, how we see things. We don't need to get to that point with somebody. Nobody has to change or conform for anybody else. And the more you speak your truth, the more your truth is a part of the experience. So it is, and everybody's truth is valid. There is no truth that isn't valid. Most people are insecure of sharing their truth, or they don't feel confident. I mean, right now, there's so many people who are just so disconnected from their spirit side, but still, you have a truth. Everyone has a truth. Everyone has a storyline. Everyone has some story that they came into experience to grow. And so, those stories, it's like your recipe, your obstacles in life for you to meet the challenges so that you can grow from them. And there's a lot of people, who their stories just brought them down. They couldn't get over them. Hopefully, there's a lot of people who, through this awakening, are seeing, they're empowering, and they're feeling better. Like they can claim their story. They can overcome. There's no shame in their story. Their story's just a story, It's just another story. It's like a library full of books. You want all different kinds of books. You want all different kinds of stories. We don't want to go in and read the same damn story over and over. And there's so many people who just want to follow somebody else's story because they think that they can have the same outcome. But that's not how it goes. You didn't come here to just follow someone else's story to have their outcome. That's not even possible. You have your own story, your own outcome, your own lessons. Even if you try and follow somebody else's, it's not going to go the same way. It's going to go into your lessons, what you need to learn. So, just, I think that the biggest thing is just so many people who want to just be rich and famous. And they think that's the answer to everything. And, that's something I was dealing with all the way back when I was a child, because my sister, she was going to be rich and famous. And I'm not kidding you. This isn't something where she just said it. She pursued, she wanted to go and be rich and famous and be in movies. And she went and pursued that stuff. But it just was so much of her story. And it would be like, I would just be like, why? What is the point? Why do you want to be, I can see why a lot of people think they want to be rich, but when I was a kid and I met a lot of rich people and I thought that they weren't good people. So to me, it's what is the point? Why would, money is not going to make you a better person. So what is it? Why do you want to be rich? But famous is that has always been just strange to me. Why do you need strangers to say anything to you? You don't know these people. And just in the way, of how things go, it's not going to all be good. It's not going to be just all good things. It's not going to be just people saying good things to you. Then you got way more people saying bad things to you. You got way more control over you. But there's just so many people in the world. And I think, so many want to just be famous. They think it's going to make them be appreciated by other people or something. And it is, I don't know, it's a strange concept, because it is, even if you are famous, you're famous to you are known to a certain group of people. It's not like you're known to every single person in the world. It isn't, even Jesus, he's pretty damn famous, but it doesn't mean everybody likes Jesus. You got people who talk smack about Jesus. So, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's something with the priorities and stuff with people, and that they are just, they're all looking for acceptance. They're looking for somebody's approval. And it all comes down to us not being able to give it to ourselves. And so I think a lot of people just feel like, well, if everybody liked me, if everybody could see, you know, then I could feel better about myself. Then I could like myself. But I think you need to learn how to like yourself without, I think it would be an extra burden to learn to like yourself while you've got all these other people up your ass. Like, that seems like a lot more of a challenge, and that, to me, it makes it crystal clear. The people who become famous, it's about the lesson. It's about what they came here to learn. It isn't about, and there's repercussions to fame. I think we're going to see a lot of repercussions for some people. And right now, you know, you got the SAG or whatever, they're going on strike. And so they're saying that the movie stars are getting fucked over because now, because of the technology, that you just go in. And I saw this on the making, I think, of the Sonic or something. It was something, some kind of interview, like especially these tech kind of movies where, you know, they've got, you know, these creatures in them that aren't real. So then they get the actors to go and do this green screen thing, and they have to put on this outfit. It's like a green screen outfit or something, but it's got like these dots or something. So somehow they are grafting them. They are putting their images into a computer and grafting like all their movements, so that then, you know, I'm sure it's in their contracts and shit. Like, these people are, you know, are fucked. There's a reason why they're like, fuck you. Like, you're not gonna, I built my reputation, and now you just want to steal my image and put me in movies that I don't want to say that. I don't want to be that character. But you don't have a choice anymore, because now they've got your image. And so I can completely see why the people would be like, hell no, you can't just take my image and do what you want. But that has been something we've been dealing with in society for a while, where they started saying about the deep fakes, about people, like, they can go on to your Instagram, they can take your face, then they can go on to OnlyFans and take some other girl's body and put your face on it, and then, you know, market you as this porn person. So that kind of stuff is already going on. And you know what, people are just like, well, it didn't happen to me, so I don't care. Who cares about that? But, you know, it all builds and builds and builds to the point of like, well, we have your image, we don't have to pay you, we've got your image. And so, you know, whatever is going on with that. But we have all these people who are very in their, I don't know, kind of paranoia or something. And now they're all convinced that this whole fucking thing is a psyop, because all these people, every person in Hollywood has obviously perved on a baby. And so they now, because everything's coming out, they don't want these videos to come out. So they just want to say, oh, that's not real. That's not really me. Okay. Like, you guys, sometimes I just feel like people just go so far with their paranoia. It's like, you don't have to worry about that. It's not like they're caught. Whoever did this shit is caught. We're to this point because they were caught. We're to the point where people can speak out because they were caught. There's no, it isn't like, oh, well, they could trick us now. They can say that wasn't them. The NSA's got it all. Like, this has been something, this is the unfolding. This is the, everything happening so you can see. because of how much stuff is like, well, it doesn't bother me, doesn't have anything to do with me, I don't care, let them do whatever, I don't care, let them steal kids everywhere, I don't care, I got my kids. And now right away, Georgia, they're, you know, we're there for you, we'll chip your child right now. Okay, smart. So the people who think like that they can trick us now, and they can say, well, that wasn't me in that movie. The NSA's got it all. Like, it's whoever's going down, they're going down. It's not like where we have to figure it out. No, this is fucking military shit, man. And so I had seen a military guy was talking about what went on for, okay, you know, the Joe hand on the Bible day, that, you know, it was all bullshit. Even, you know, on Kamala, she had the Bible, then she put her purse, and then she put her hand. And there was upside down. I mean, there's all sorts of bullshit. Like, the whole thing was such nonsense. It wasn't at the place. It was the whole thing, when you heard other military talking about it, that service was a funeral. It wasn't the other thing that we will get tagged on. But the one that was going on for the other guy, that one was real. He had a 21 guns, the whole thing. And that was done a military base, because the military is back. Like, we're back to this, you know, republic. He gave everything back, like this destruction of the corporation of America that they have been taking down in front of us as this has been going on, and all the people who are involved in that. So but this military person talking about all that, and then I saw this other one. It was talking about that he, with the military, like him giving the country back to the military, because the military is really in charge of us, of America, but they're also like kind of fighting. But I think they're not going to just. It is being done more in arrests than just a huge battle. But I mean, I haven't even heard lately if they're still like in LA and in New York. I haven't seen anyone talking about that. That's kind of strange. But I did see, oh yeah, because now they're talking about they're sending tanks over to the Ukraine or something, and people are all getting outraged and all of that stuff. It's all to outrage you. It's all to get you to notice that this is bullshit. Like, that they are just, it's the dog wagging the tail, or however that goes. It's them wagging us. It's them in control of this shit. So everybody has to see it for themselves. But what was I gonna say? Oh, I can't even think of what I was going to say. Man, I feel lost. I just all of a sudden just feel like lost in a forest. But anyways, no matter what, all this stuff that's going on is to get you to look at things differently, to see things more clearly. And people just get so caught up in stuff. Like, I think it's, you know, I mean, I can see their point of thinking that, you know, these movie stars now are going to all have these pervy tapes come out. And so they're just trying to say, oh, no, that's a deep fake. That's not me. After seeing that whole thing about the making of Sonic, I think there's another... I think you can watch any of these movies that are or any of the making of these movies that are these tech movies, like where it's all green screen, and it shows how they had the actors in these suits with these things, and then this screen. And the actor who I heard talking about it was saying, you know, it's very strange because you're not really playing with anything. You're like having to pretend like there's things there. But I think the whole thing was getting all of their movements programmed into the the computer program thing that they're using so that they don't have to pay, millions of dollars to actors to use their images. They're done with that whole idol thing. Now they're going into the droids and the AI. What was it I just saw too? Oh yeah, where somebody was saying the AI is the Israelites from the Bible stories. That they've got them and they're trapped in the AI. That's who we're dealing with in the AI. I don't know. I think that there's definitely trapped consciousness in the AI. I think that that is a part of what they've been doing for a long time. I think that they've reached their point of now that they can get consciousness and they can move it around. And it's strange, is like, I don't know how, because it's elusive. It isn't density. So I don't know, but they do all that weird shit. Like, I think it has to do with the maid for sure. That contraption, I think, is to like trap you in there. And then, I don't know, your consciousness goes into some sort of black hole, black box thing. And then they've shown this in movies. Like, this is, I can't remember. I talked about the movie when I had seen it, but there's another one too. Like, I've seen a couple of them, but this ability where these scientists are able to get this consciousness and put it in a black box, and they want to do these same things of transplanting consciousnesses. It was in this movie. And, when I was talking about these crazy miracles that are going to be happening, a little boy in Pakistan who was riding his bike who got beheaded, and they reattached his head. And apparently, he's back in there. And, that's the thing, is where our consciousness can start seeing, like, yeah, your head can come off, then you put it back on and you're good to go. Like, there's been so much, I think, of consciousness, like, seeing its body on the ground and being like, well, I can't get back in there, but now we're learning about ourselves. Now I think we're learning, oh yeah, we can get back in there, and I'm telling you, I can't even believe how fast my foot is healing. And I think it will heal even faster and faster and faster the more that we become aware of ourselves, that, like, we're a hologram and stuff. Like, it's not real. We're not really getting cut. We're not really getting hurt. And the more that we can detach from that, reprogram ourselves to understand that we're not really cut open, we're not really dying, we're not really bleeding out. And any injuries that happen is to slow you down, to get you to stop, to get you on another road, to change your path. There's a purpose. And yesterday, I felt like, it was that I was supposed to just keep laying and relaxing. And I was getting all sorts of messages and stuff. And so, I felt like it was just, some days you're just supposed to just take off. You're not supposed to just go, 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 go. You got to find balance in your life, and if you feel like you got to go, 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 like, got to question yourself, why? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish here? Where am I trying to get to? Because we shouldn't be at that pace. We should be at this fucking burping, a rolling river, not a fast rolling, more of a meandering, like, we don't want to be stormy, but we want, like a river that is rushing, when you're doing that energy. You want to have an energy that is more of meandering, taking time to smell the flowers, taking time to look out at the scenery, taking time to reflect on what is happening and why it's happening. So we're not supposed to be just going as fast as we can. That is, that messes with, our dopamine, our cortisol, all of these different levels that are all out of whack. That's why they want you to be going so fast. That's why they want you to burn those chemicals out so they can offer you a sweet-ass pill so that they can fuck with your internal. Oh, and also the M, the arm, and then now Florida is saying no more. Nope, we're not having any of those anymore. They're dangerous. So that, however long that's going to take to go more mainstream, but it gets the conversations on the table. And so gets more people to be like, well, if they're not going to do them, why are we doing them? And so, but that is all going to be a part. And I hope this week is the week. I hope to God that the banks do go down. What was that? Was a guy who was, he was in a bank. He was in a bank and was in America. And the bank had changed. And it was like the bank, manager or something was in there working. And they had changed it. They had set up these weird, like, cubicle things or something. So he asked the guy, what's going on? And he goes, we're setting up for, what was it? It wasn't exact words I've heard people talking about with the RV and the XRP and stuff like that. But it was basically, we're going to be our own bankers. And so he said they're setting it up for consultation. So we will all be able to go in and consult. So there's going to be, and I'd heard that for a long while too, there's going to be this whole thing of a consultation. Like we'll go in, we'll get our new phones. They'll explain to us things about how things work. You'll have access to a certain amount of money. And maybe that will be based on our vibration, because there's something about our frequency and vibration with the quantum. Like there's something about like where I have been talking about, like where I was able to see through people. People couldn't hide themselves anymore. It's something about the frequency. So you won't be able to hide your truth. That's the quantum kind of thing. You're not going to be able to, that's why you will genuinely have to be healed. And people who genuinely are not healing, they're not raising their frequency. Those are the ones who I think are not going to be there. Are they going to be shadows, that we'll see still? Are they going to be shadows and, we'll watch them grow and change just as the watchers watch us? Like, I don't know. This place is pretty fantastic. Anything can happen. But it is, definitely everything is happening for you to change and to grow and to evolve, but you have to face yourself to do those actions. You can't. And so many people are just such victims and everything is someone else's fault because it's so scary to claim their own. And I mean, there's people who are old and dying in shame and guilt, and it is unnecessary. All you got to do is find acceptance for yourself. And when you can accept yourself for your own ignorance, you can accept everyone. And then you realize ignorance isn't something to be ashamed of. Ignorance is the provocateur to learn, to grow. So it is not something that you need to feel bad about. Like, you can claim it. Like, yeah, fuck, I was stupid as shit. I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. I made that decision without knowing that, but look at what I learned from it. I learned so much. So, it's a changing your attitude. And this acceptance of yourself is how you begin to accept others. It all comes from within. We become judgmental because we're so heavily judging ourselves that we have to judge everybody else. So it is, and it's a relief. It's a relief to stop judging yourself. It's a relief to stop judging others. To just be like, yeah, well, that's their mistake. Hey, they're going to do what they're going to do. Let them do their thing. Let them learn for themselves. None of us need to be standing over somebody, giving them the lessons, telling them all. There's a natural order. There's a choice and consequence. And you don't have to, as a mom, you spend a lot of time trying to explain to your kids about consequences. Well, this will happen. Well, that'll happen. And it becomes like a defeative kind of parenting route. Let them experience it. Let them find out for themselves. See, not wasting your energy and time trying to explain to them what you've experienced. Let them experience their experience and let them learn for themselves. You don't have to teach them shit. Let something fall on them and let them find out. Let them clean up their own mess. Don't run in and clean up their mess for them. Let them clean up their own mess. Let them learn through natural consequence. And, that I think is going to be a big movement in parenting where people are going to see, like, you don't have to sit there and be so controlling and stuff, allowing, it is like watching puppies play, and falling and running into each other and stuff, allowing this progress. For kids, allow them to, go out and fall down and make mistakes and see. And, I think it has become so much a helicopter parent, oh, don't do that, don't do this, because they fear for themselves. So they restrict their child's experience because they fear, like, oh, I can't lose my child. Oh, what if they get hurt? Oh, they might cry. Oh, but you got to allow them to experience, because that is growth. That is them figuring out who they are, and it needs to start at a young age. It doesn't need to start out with us being shamed, well, you really need that other cookie? I don't think so. No matter what it is, no matter if your damn ass teeth have got 25 cavities like mine, I'm skinny as could be, but I had a mouthful of cavities. So, but your ass, I got told I couldn't eat more candy or sugar or whatever. There's other people, who were told, oh, you don't need that. You're not even going to be able to fit into your clothes when school starts, and they would feel horrible about themselves. And, there's just so many things where parents, instead of allowing kids to develop into themselves, they've shamed them into being something that was acceptable for them. And that is the parents' own growth. That is like where, oh, this was interesting too. Yeah, because I just saw this woman, and this is what I'm talking about, is that the lessons are not just your lessons. Your lessons are attached. They're associated with a lineage. And so your mom, your grandma, like your grandparents are with you for a reason. Because it is their lessons. It's all of our lessons. If they can help me to learn the lessons, then it's an accomplishment. So all the lessons that are sewn together through this birthing system. And so this woman, she was talking about her mom. This lady was talking about that she was, so she had a mom and a dad, she thought. And then she grew up and she had her own kids. And her mom, when she tells the stories, was very, narcissistic, but, a lot of narcissism comes from insecurity. So, and then we use these words, narcissist, and it has this same like, oh, they're bad, they're the bad ones. And not acknowledging their pain and suffering and why they put on this shield, why they put on this armor of narcissism to protect themselves. So her mom, so the woman has her kids, and she, she feels like she's a good mom. And her mom bitched at her whole entire life about her mom. So it would have been the girl's grandmother was never told her mother who her real dad was. She never told her. It was always a game. And so the mom of the woman who's telling the story, she was resentful. She never get to know who her dad was and whatnot. So she now has this daughter who has these grandkids and whatnot. And this woman gets one of those 23andMe's or whatever it's called. And is that what it's called, 23andMe? Now I have Me 23 stuck in my head. Which there was some I wanted to say something, because what was something we were talking about yesterday. I think I might have already said it anyways. But anyway, so she did one of those 23andMe kind of things. And, the DNA thing. And it came back that she wasn't related. Like, she found out that her dad wasn't her dad. So she started asking her mom, who's my dad? And her mom started just fucking around. And, oh, well, I don't know. That's your dad. It's your dad. Well, the test says it's not. Well, that test is making a mistake. That's your dad. That's your dad. And the girl is like arguing now with her mom, with, you tell me who my dad is. Like, this is bullshit, And the mom won't. The mom then said some other guy, some guy she knew back then. So this woman trusted that, goes and confronts the guy, and it was another lie. And so how frustrated she is with her mom, and how it's so weird how she's doing the same thing to her as her mom did to her, although she complained about it her whole life. And that is what I'm saying. The lessons, they're stretched out. They are not. The lessons are bigger. Like, there's lessons here, like the micro, macro. We have lessons on all developmental stages. Like, there's a whole collective lesson, and that's a part of the science experiment or whatever of unity, I think, of us all coming together. And that is a big one. What they're watching is how we come together. And I think an important thing of coming together is just to release judgment, to allow everyone's perspective to be valid, and to not shame, to understand everybody's soul is equal. Like, if their perspective is that's valid. It doesn't mean like, oh, well, I'm a chosen one because I look at it different and I see things this way. So I'm chosen, you're not. I'm awake, you're not, I mean, there's so many people who think they're awake, and to me, they're not awake yet. Like, when you start, like, there's a certain development once you get to that where I would say, okay, now you're awake. But just being trapped in the illusion and fear, it's like they're trapped in the fun house. They're just trapped in like, oh, now they're going to do this. Now they're going to do that. Oh my God, I'm so scared. All these movie stars, they're going to just pretend like they weren't really doing it. It's like, oh my God, you cannot just go at life like that. You cannot be scared of everything. You cannot be scared of it. They're going to trick you and they're going to get you. Like, the energy is going to manage itself. Like, you'll see. Like, there's people who think like they're doing well and they are negative, toxic energy. They're going to not be going further. The energy, it's the energy. Like, there would be impossible for these people to pretend and trick us. It won't work. It would be impossible. That is fear. That is not understanding what's really happening on this planet. That's not understanding about frequency. That's not understanding about the light and the dark. Like, there's a lot of things that the people that hold them back from really understanding what's going on. So you don't need to fear. Like, these movie stars are going to trick us. They're going to say that they're not in them, and then we're not going to know. It's like, the ones that are in them are probably already arrested. They're probably already being held, or they're probably already in trials where they're going and, giving evidence and stuff. Like, that stuff is going on already. And, what we'll see which people were involved. I mean, there's definitely people who were very involved in the rituals and stuff. Like, I've heard Johnny Depp, like, he's not just involved. Like, he'll play the Grand Master. Like, he's up in there. Like, he's the one who is leading the ritual. So, you think about how many people worship that fella. And I had heard about that like a while ago. It was one of the people who says he was involved with Cappy. And I don't know if he's still, I'd seen him on YouTube, and he was getting in some fights with some other people, and I don't know if they've all like gotten each other taken down or whatever, but it was the people who are into the occult. Like, if you go and you look up people who are talking about like the occult and the occult practices and how the occult the hidden truth and all that stuff. Because the people who are running this world are all that, they're occult practices and stuff. So this guy was one of those people. And he said that it was like there's a ceremony that is done. I don't know if it's once a month or once a year, but when it's done, it's not just done in one place. Like, keep in mind that every fucking city has these groups. And those cities were all infiltrated into making our rules, our laws, being the fucking police chief and shit. Like, these people who run these, because that is something that has been coming out over and over and over. These people who have come out, have been a part of traffic situation, who were birthed into it, into these rich families. And they're coming out and saying what goes on. And in all these different communities, there's all, and that has been shown to us in so many movies, the small town and the rich people who run it. But so this ceremony that they all do at this certain time is something called Alice in Wonderland or something. It's really disturbing as fuck. So fucking disturbing. And a guy went through explaining it all, and that was the one where he was saying that Johnny was the fucking the leader of it. He was the one who it was really sickening. Like, I don't want to hear all this stuff as it's coming out. I get so sick. It's so sad. And you get so caught up in feeling the pain, and the pain's past. There's nothing we can do about, like, what they've done, and all of that is, but all of that pain and stuff, see, it's got to be purged out. That's the dark energy. It's like, it's got to be released. And so this world has just had so much darkness and so much, but there's I don't know about all of these women. Like, I say Madonna, she's 100%. Like, even when I saw a documentary a long while ago about her, I think it was on Hulu or something, and I mean, she was opportunistic. She was one of those people. Like, she'll do anything to be famous. Anything. So she was going to, make sure she got, so, and she's proven she will do anything. She will do anything. And so, yeah, I think she's definitely, Chrissy Teigen, like, I don't even know if that's a woman. Like, I don't know about Chrissy. She is, I mean, there's just where she sits there and has that conversation, like, about eating people. Like, it's quite clear she's done it. Like, so, and it's her weird tweets that she was always doing. She was weird. Like, there's so many people, like, even Rain, what's his name? Is it Rain Wilson or whatever? His tweets were so disturbing. But now he's coming out and saying all this spiritual stuff. Like, but I think Madonna, like, I think she's going down. Like, that whole thing of her going in the hospital, she's probably already, done for. Kathy Griffin, like, for sure, I think she's going down. Ellen, ever since all this started, just the whole look on that chick's face, boy, she's gone all, like, gray looking. She just looks like, fuck. She looks like she knows she's in some trouble. And then there's footage of this man from, I don't know, 1700s that looks just like her. So who knows? Maybe she's been around for a long-ass fucking time. I've seen other people now saying, these people are in their hundreds. Like, for y'all to think, like, these people are just younger is crazy. These people are old. And whatever they do, rituals or something to stay alive. But that's the thing with these actresses. The stuff they'll put on their face. It's like, well, don't you question where it comes from? Like, I'm not going to go putting baby blood on my face. What the fuck? Like, that's gross. Like, maybe if you were a mom who gave birth to a child, and then you had the placenta. Like, there's a whole fucking thing about the placenta. Like, there's a lot of stuff about the placenta. Like, I think that they're taking the placentas and doing something because it's so high in nutrients and a lot of stuff. So I think that that's why they want us to give birth 7/17. That's today, 7/17. That's what time it says. The magic day, I hope. That the I got 7/17 stuck in my head. What the fuck was I talking about? The blood. Oh yeah, so if you had the placenta, like, I think that's one reason why they wanted to all start giving birth in places, so they could control it. They could take babies when they wanted. I mean, every fucking Lifetime movie I've watched for 20 fucking years, there's a woman who went in to have a baby, and they told him the baby died, but really they took the baby. So that's been going on for a long ass time. But I would think that would be the only time that you should take blood of something. Like, that would be your own highly concentrated blood. I could see maybe putting that on your face and absorbing those nutrients, but going and taking them, like, I think it's weird. Like, why? And I think that these women have got to know, it's not every, like, once something becomes a market, you have to keep up with it. Like, I mean, there's a reason why they want to keep the fetus ripping out. They want to keep that, out there. They don't want women to start thinking that's not a good idea. That agenda, how they push it to, and how the people who are just on board of so many of these things. But I don't know. I know that there's a lot of interesting stuff about the placenta, because there became a whole movement of women who take them home. I've heard of people eating them, all sorts of weird stuff. But that would be the only blood I would think would be I would ever wipe on my face of some other, but that would be my own after it's been filtered and shit. Well, oh yeah, this was an old wives' Appalachian tale. As this woman, she got all this stuff from her grandma, and so she's going to do a series, and she did her first one yesterday. And she said, if you have an earache, what they say is to get some urine and put a couple drops of urine in your ear, and it will clear up. And that is when you hear those people who have, understand about urine and the filtration. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm not there yet. Like, I can't drink my own urine, but it clears everything up. It's like it's processing through our body to like all the everything is being filtered and more concentrated. It's like urine is kind of like a medicine. It's kind of like it goes through and it filters, and then it gives you what you need. And then you can look up about that stuff too. It's very interesting. And I had seen one of the guys who had cured his blindness by drinking his own urine. And so there's more of that kind of stuff. But, it's just more lies about, like, turn us off of these things. Get us to be grossed out by our own urine, like, scared of it. Like, go wash it off of you. It's dirty. It's like, how is it dirty? Like, how is it dirty? And then it's all so it can be an antiseptic. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like the thing with the sun and the moon. Just like all of the shit that they do and say. And they've been doing it long enough that they figured out, like, how to trick us, what to tell us and stuff. So anyways, I'm not going to start drinking my own pee yet or anything like that. But I'm sure not going to judge anybody who does. Like, you do you. And probably they're healthy as fuck too. Because whatever, their body is filtrated, it gives them the purest thing. So, I don't know. There's a lot for us to learn. There's a lot for us to understand. And, but I do know, like, this fucking cut on my leg, I swear to God, it is weird. And it's weird how is it just is like disappearing. Like, there's only this, like, little bit now up towards the top. and it's still got some scabs, but I bet you by tomorrow that's barely there, because every single time, all day long, it just is like magically going away. It's so crazy. And especially, I only had that tape on for 2 days. At one in the evening, that one evening, I put that one big piece of tape, but I didn't leave it on for very long. But it was just because it kept feeling like it was like pulling some, and I just got it in my head like I didn't want to pull apart. But it's closing. Like, our body does this stuff. Like, the things that they do. Like, I bet you, because of the difference in my veins, like, I don't know if you can even see, but you wouldn't have the reference to know what my veins were like when I was on all the medicine, because my veins had become like little tiny strings. Like, they couldn't get blood out of them. It was an ordeal. And then you say something to the doctor, well, you're getting older. That happens. Happens when you're on 18 fucking pills. And getting off of them now, my veins are big and plump and pumping blood. And but it makes me think, like, if I would have, had this cut, well, if I would have gotten it back then, I would have probably ran to the urgent care back then, and would have been way closer too, because I did. The times that I've gotten stitches, when I fell into one of those great big giant trash cans and I split my head open, right here, that's where I started having this split with my hair too. There's this big cut right there. Well, scar now. But so I got stitches. Well, that was staples. It was funny too, because he tried, when I went in, the doctor tried to braid my hair. He just wanted to braid my hair to keep it closed, but my hair was too healthy and it wouldn't stay, it would just come apart. So he stapled my head. So I got staples there, and then it was near the same time too, that I cut my foot open going down the side. I walked past something and it just sliced right through the side of my foot and just laid open the whole side. And I went to the urgent care, and that's where I think I got like 26 stitches. And it was supposed to stay for like 5 to 7 days, and they give you all the lidocaine. You sit there as they just re-traumatize. And this is healed so much faster. And I think it probably has to do with, I'm healthier. And my attitude, like, there's a lot of things, taking care of yourself and changing your attitude. It really makes a difference on your health. It makes a difference, like I just know there's older people who are so stuck in their guilt and shame that they don't see their own value. And you just got to get over all of those things. You just got to start seeing yourself, seeing yourself as different, seeing yourself as someone who's here to learn, not someone here who's here to be shamed because you don't know everything. So anyways, it's just a new approach to life. So anyways, I've been talking for a while. We'll see what today goes. So supposedly this week is supposed to be, a big one. We've gone through so many of these, but it's got to be closing in. Charlie, I saw Charlie out yesterday saying again, that this is it on the money thing. I've seen a lot of things that make me think, like, shit is, like, it's right at the brink, we're right there. We just got to get through, and things will start turning around. Oh yeah, another thing too that bank guy said is that they had it set up for people to come in and have this teaching or whatever, however he worded it. But so the guy also said, well, do you know about the quantum financial system? And the guy said, yeah, that's real. So, and that was a banker. And I've heard a few different people go in and talk to a banker, and the bankers say, yeah. So it's real, however long they can drag this out and keep us, insecure and thinking that, we're going to be trapped like this forever, slaves in this horrible world of perversion. So, but it is all ending, and all of this stuff that we're seeing and being confronted by is so that we are being confronted. So we see, so it can be let go of. So anyways, there's a purpose to it all, and it all, it's just a slower slower moving than what we would want, but it is real. So don't get in there. There's so many people. And something doesn't happen on that day, well, then give up. It's not real. This isn't real. Everything's a psyop. Everything's a lie. We're all going to be slaves. And, you know, don't let them do that to you. Don't let them keep pulling you back into that energy. You know, really realize Age of Aquarius is abundance, jubilee. It's a highly spiritual time. This dark energy won't have a place to live. It's going to be too much light. So it's going to be a great thing, and you're going to not have the stress of money and all of the things. It's going to be new lessons, new things to learn, but it's important to learn to love and accept yourself so that you can love and accept others. And I don't know how that's all gonna go, but I know that that is, if you are not that way, you will not be, you know, even if you get up there, you won't stay. It would be uncomfortable if you're just negative and judgy and hateful and everybody sucks and all that stuff. That won't be the place for you. There'll be other places for you. So anyways, but everybody's got to do themselves. Your lessons and your consequences are your lessons and consequences. So, you know, follow your guidance. Follow what you're supposed to be here to learn. Follow what you're supposed to be doing. Don't just do something because somebody else says to do it. Do what feels right with you inside. What is your communication? Follow that. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.